Oh my gosh, it's December. And what is December without the chaos? In the nonprofit sector, as leaders, we're often juggling lots of things going on, lots of events, even, and things that are on our to do list, and meetings, and hiring new staff, and training people, and new sites, and funding program or funding proposals, and all of this stuff is always on our plate. We're constantly juggling, but there's something about December that adds another layer. And part of that is the stuff that we've got going on in our personal life and the extra stuff that happens in the workplace. Christmas parties and baking and decorating and gifts and all of that kind of thing that happens. And so there's an extra level of stress that happens for us. But more than that, there is an emotional piece that we carry. And so I was talking with a client the other day and we were talking about, traveling to visit family. And sometimes family's a lovely thing. Other people, oh, the dread of having to hang out with family and your sister who you're annoyed with, or your uncle who says inappropriate things, or your parents who trigger you, or having to drag your kids halfway across the country on flights that get delayed or car rides that are not always so fun. That adds an extra layer. You can also add in things like the financial strain or the grief and loss. Many of us have experienced loss throughout the year or the years. And so this might be the first time, or maybe only the second time you're experiencing Christmas without that special person. And all of this adds just an extra layer. There's the darkness. And so many people struggle with depression in wintertime. And just putting it all together, and it's the perfect storm for us to feel like we're supposed to put on this nice jolly face, and instead we're feeling frustrated and overwhelmed and anxious, and it is hard. Let me make sure that I'm popping over and adding my LinkedIn feed here, and I'm going to have to pause for a moment to make some sound, but I want to make sure that if anybody's commenting or chatting, I get to hear you. If you don't know me, I am leadership development coach Kathy Archer, and I help nonprofit women leaders stop drowning in their work, doubting their abilities, and carrying it all themselves so that they can lead with confidence, set boundaries, because we know that's hard, and finally take control of your leadership and life so that at the end of the day, you still have energy left for the rest of your life. Because isn't that the whole point? We want to do meaningful work, but we still want to have that energy left. Today, we're talking about drowning in December. And as I've just kind of been going through, there is so much that weighs us down, that keeps us weighed down. And if we're not careful, we can snap, we can break, we can fall apart, or we can just go numb and try and power through and get through the season. Now, I remember times when I did that, and many years. I have 4 kids. Uh, my husband would work away from home, so sometimes, especially during Christmas, or during the lead up to Christmas, I might not see him for days or weeks. And I was working full time, and so I'm trying to make sure gift giving is done and hidden, and decorating is done, and cookies are made. And at that point in time, I was doing Christmas cards and getting them sent off, getting all of that stuff done. And at work, we were doing Christmas parties and gathering things and trying to make sure that we'd cover off over the holidays for our clients and making sure that everything was done. And it was hard, right? And I started to resent the Christmas season. I started to not enjoy the Christmas season. Now, I have a history of loss at Christmas as well. When I was 14, my sister passed away on December 19th. So that's always added an extra level of grief and loss for my family. I've had my kids struggle with depression, especially into those last few months of the year where we were really working through some things. So that added a level. I was on antidepressants. I ended up almost quitting my job one Christmas because I was like at my wit's end. The stuff that was going on often, I don't know why government thinks it's so wise to do mid-January or early January or even end of January that we were working on right up till Christmas or right through Christmas, because it takes a lot to get a proposal together and into making sure that it's ready in a way that it's ready to hit send on the due date. So I felt overwhelmed and I started to really just not enjoy it. And so I started to sit with that a few years back and look at, what do I want different? What's the experience I want at Christmas? What's the feeling I want? What's the outcome I want? And then what do I have to do to get that? And I started to do some of the self-reflective work thinking, what would a special Christmas feel like? And what are the most important parts of Christmas? And which parts feel heavy and which parts feel exciting and light? And I started to really look at what was most meaningful for me at Christmas. And I started to take out some of the things that weren't so helpful, like writing Christmas cards. At that point in time, Facebook was really starting to become a thing. And it's like, everybody sees what we're doing anyhow. Like, I don't need to be sending out Christmas cards. And in fact, I was writing a newsletter, like not just a letter, like I was designing, columns and colors and pictures. And like, this was a production that took hours and hours and hours. And I finally had to say, no, like I'm done. I can't do that anymore. I called my decorations and got rid of a ton of decorations and again looked at which ones are the most important to me. I stopped most of my baking. It wasn't something I needed and it wasn't half the time people didn't need it or just got wasted or it just wasn't what we needed to do. But it wasn't best use of my time and energy either. I didn't enjoy it. I don't enjoy baking. Some people do and that's their thing, 100%. But I do enjoy soft twinkle lights, things like that. And so I started to dissect that. But I also started to look at my work schedule and what was important in work and what I wanted to do and not want to do and how I wanted to set up my time. All of this happened as a result of me stepping back as much of the time and looking at what's important to me and what's not important to me. But what I did was I created space to start to create that. So here's the thing. If you're feeling like, here we go around the merry-go-round again. Every year, this is what it feels like at the end of the year. Every Christmas, this is always what happens. And I always feel frazzled and stressed and overwhelmed. And there's too much on my plate and I'm bitchy and I'm tired and I resent it. And Christmas is over and I feel like, what happened? I didn't get to enjoy any of it. Or maybe that's the best day is the day after Christmas because finally it's over and you do get some downtime. But if you are feeling that, there's one thing that I want you to do today, not an hour's worth of thing, but one thing that I want you to do today. I want you to take a moment and I want you to schedule some time in your calendar, probably between Christmas and New Year's. That's probably the best time to do it. Half hour, an hour to do a little piece of self-reflection. This is the piece that's going to help you go, if I want something different, I need to be intentional about it. And if I want next year, the way that I'm leading, the way that my personal life is going, the way that things are flowing throughout the year to be different than they were this year, then I need to create a different experience. It's not just going to happen by chance. It's not just going to happen because I hope it does or because I expect it might. It's going to happen because I intentionally say, wait a minute, things need to be different. And here's how I'm going to create them differently. So create space to do some self-reflection. Now, I have a membership site. It's called the Training Library. So I have students in my training library. We're gearing up to do a bit of a longer self-reflection, probably about an hour, of what I call the annual analysis, where it takes a look at the entire last year. So often we get to the end of the year, we're like, oh, I never accomplished anything this year. I never did anything. It's just like, I'm so stressed. And this is what it's always like. Okay, but there was 12 months. What happened in those 12 months? And are we only looking at, maybe dollars, time, staffing, certain sort of thing that we're measuring? But what about all the other things? Has your confidence grown? How's your wellness plan? Like, are you taking care of yourself, your self-care? How are you doing as a leader? Have you grown as a leader? What about your supervision with your staff? How's your relationship with staff? How has that evolved? So I take the time with my team or with my students to look back over the year. We often measure our success by what we want to see in the future. We look at, this is the person I want to become, and we see that gap from where we are now to where we want to be. And we're like, oh, I'll never be that person, or I'll never get there. Or it's never going to happen. And it feels icky. What I want you to do is measure yourself from who you've come, how far you've come already, the gains you've made. So the gap and the gain is a concept by Dr. Benjamin Hardy. And he talks about this again, this vision that if we're measuring self from some ideal in the future, it doesn't feel good. And it feels like we'll never get there. But if we pause and look how far we've come and what it's taken to get us where we are, that's what's going to help us actually start to evolve and grow in a different way. So I want you to pause and look at how far have I come? So I have a free version of this mini assessment, and I'm going to pop the link in. Let me grab it here right now. Oh, where did I put the link? That would be helpful to have. Oh, here it is. Always got so many things on the go. How many windows can one person have open? Isn't that the way it goes? Okay, so I'm going to pop the link in here in the chat if you want to grab the free version of this look back. Strategic look back is what I call it. So we're strategically looking back. And then from that grounded place, that place where we feel a little bit more confident about how far we've grown, from that place where it's like, ooh, look at what I've accomplished, or the things that I've changed or shifted, or the inner growth that I've experienced, or the outer growth that me or my team have experienced. From that place, then in January, we start to set a different type of goal. If we don't do that look back, again, we hit January, it's like Groundhog Day, same thing all over again. Oh, I'll just set the goals to do this again. Didn't do it last year. No, let's try something different this year. What's the thing? So perhaps what you realize is, I've done a lot in terms of the business work. I've got my team set up, we've got the new site set up, and we've got policies in place, but I haven't grown me as a leader. And part of growing me as a leader is I just want to read more. I want to read more leadership books, or I want to listen to podcasts. That might be next year. You just simply set a goal for that, to read one book in the first quarter. That's it, right? But if you don't do that look back, and if you don't sort of pause and step and kind of go, what's happening here? What's going on? Then it's harder for you to do that. So if we want to take where we're at now, that sort of drowning in December, feeling like it's going to just be the same thing every year. We get to this point, there's nothing I can do. We feel helpless. We're in survival mode, just trying to get through to maybe a different experience next year where, yeah, things are stressful. Yes, there's a lot on your plate, but maybe there's just a little bit more confidence in handling it, or that you've reduced a bit of the clutter. And so maybe you're not carrying so much, or maybe you've created one specific hour in December where you step back and do that thing that's really important to you. One year, I sat back and I'm like, really, it's the Christmas carols that I like. I love singing Christmas carols. And so I made sure that I created a space to go to the senior center on the day that they were singing Christmas carols so I could enjoy that experience. And that was it. That was that one thing that I just simply wanted to do and be involved in. And I did it. And it just feels good, right? So think about that. If I want next year to be different, I need to pause and make next year different. I want to share. You're going to lose me for a minute. Okay. This is the model that I teach all the time for the women I'm working with, my students, anybody who's on a webinar with me. The infinite leadership loop is the ability to intentionally lead in a way that you want to lead. So if we're looking at, can I do this? Maybe not. I was trying to put me on the screen. Guess not. If we're looking at doing this self-reflection more intentionally, we need to create pauses in our day. Many of the times we're sort of in this unconscious loop in our head where we're saying the same thing. I'm never going to get through. I'm never going to get through, or just get me through, or this is so painful, or, oh my God, I'm never going to make it. That thought keeps whirling around in our head. We want those thoughts to be more intentional. So we have to pause. We have to create space, whether it's a moment, a breath, 5 minutes, an hour, a walk around the block, whatever it is. It's a pause, a step back to be more intentional about what's going on. Then we ponder, what am I feeling? What are the thoughts? What's going on in my body? What's happening with the people around me? What's going on that I don't want? And what do I want instead? And at some point, we're going to hope that we make a pivot or a shift where we start to decide that things are going to be different, or we see a different way, or we realize we have to say something or set a boundary. And then that's where we proceed with courage and vulnerability and say, look, actually, this, when I was talking about Christmas cards or Christmas newsletter, the hardest part of that decision was telling my husband that I wasn't going to do it anymore. It meant more to him than it did to me. I could have let it go years ago, but he kept talking about how important it was to him and how much he loved it. He wasn't the one doing the work though. But I had to have that hard conversation with him, which is when we go into the people, right? So pause, ponder, pivot, proceed, and then we engage with our people and we show up in a way that is more aligned with who we want to be, the vision we have of ourselves, the impact that we want to make. And then we go back with intention and do it again. Did that work? How well did that conversation go? What did I learn from that conversation? How I behaved? Was it the way I wanted? And we do this back and forth, constant growth. And that's what really helps us with the growth and development as leaders. If we don't do that piece, oh, there I am on the side. Let me move me back up to the top. Maybe. There we go. Always going to learn the technology. So the pausing is the most important part. And so that's what I want you to do right now. I want you to schedule a pause in between Christmas and New Year's, somewhere in that neck of the woods. Just a space to pause and reflect on how you've grown, what's happened over the last, 12 months, and who do you want to be in the coming year? What's the type of leader you want to show up as? What's the impact you want to have on your family? What's the type of mom you want to be? What's the type of person you want to be? And how are you going to do that? Create that space between Christmas and New Year's now, and next year will be different because you will show up next year with more intention. Again, if you want help with that, in the comment section, I added a link to a freebie. If you want to go deep, let me find if you want to go deep and do the full annual analysis course with me, grab your subscription to the training library. It's $19.97 a month. You could join and then quit in January. Totally fine with me if that's what works for you. But join in and do this work with me. In January, I'm doing a course called Your Leadership Blueprint, 3 sessions where we're going to go through that annual review, but we're also going to set your goals for the coming year. So if you want to join me for that, let me see if I can quickly create the banner for that. There we go. I think. Show. There we go. That is the training that's coming up in the new year. I will comment that in. Let me just see if this will work here. It's in the LinkedIn comments as well. Any questions you have, pop them into the comments at any time watching the replay, and I will answer them or send me a direct message. The deal is, if you don't slow down and pause and lead with intention, you're going to continue to live in survival mode. And you're going to continue to feel like you're just frantic and running around and you're never getting ahead of the game. And every year we're cycling through this, doing the same thing again. So create pauses, create tiny pauses, create big pauses, take pauses when they show up, schedule pauses in, but pause is the most important part. Stop, step back, and tune in. And that's when you're going to lead with intention and find that you are leading in a more impactful way. Need something for yourself for Christmas? Grab Character Driven Leadership, or if you need to get a book for somebody and you're last minute, you can send the audio or the ebook version of it as well. Go make the rest of your day awesome, my dear, and don't forget to schedule your pause in.